Hi everyone, I'm Jen of The Lens of Jen, and today we are talking about something difficult. We are talking about how to comfort a loved one when someone dies. And it isn't easy. Look, you've probably disappeared in the past. I know I did. I would become sort of paralyzed with indecision, like, what should I say? I don't know what to say. And instead I would say nothing at all. And I'm going to tell you right now, as someone who has gone through the loss of a loved one, it is the worst thing that you can do to disappear. In fact, after my fiance died is when I started to think about sort of the best ways to comfort people when they lose someone. And here's what I came up with. First, what you should say. I'm a writer, so I hate cliches, but in this case, the comforting cliche is the way to go. It's okay to use a comforting cliche like, I'm so sorry for your loss, or there are no words. Because you are sorry and there are no words, and that is why it's hard to reach out. And just that little bit of outreach is honestly so appreciated. Okay, you can also try things like, I am here for you whenever you need. And back that up. Be there for them if they need you. You can let them know that it's okay not to be okay right now. They may be feeling some pressure to be okay, to get over it, to rush the grieving process. And letting them know that it's okay to not be okay is a really nice thing to say. Even if they know that, it's nice to hear. Another thing that often happens is people are afraid to use the name of the person who's passed away. They're afraid to bring him or her up, and likely your grieving loved one wants to talk about it. If they don't, that's totally okay. Everybody grieves differently, but for me, I wanted to talk about my partner. My late partner's name was Jeff, so it was very welcomed when somebody would say to me, my favorite memory of Jeff was, and then they would tell me a story. If they didn't know him, it was really nice when somebody said, tell me about Jeff. Or, hey, what was really nice was that you were so happy when you were with Jeff. So if you don't know the person, ask about him or her, say his or her name. It's really obvious when you're trying to avoid saying the name. Use the name, it's okay. And when you ask, maybe note something that changed in that person's life because the person who died came into your loved one's life, even if it was for just a short time. It's a really nice way to go. It doesn't have to be complicated, just a little bit of outreach, a nice sentiment, a comforting cliche is enough. Now let's talk about what you should not say. There's something called a false comfort cliche. I think of this as something that you've heard said many times, but that actually makes the person who's saying it feel a lot better than the person who's grieving. So think about things like, he's in a better place now. There is a reason for everything. It's all for the best. This was part of the plan. A good guideline is that if you're starting with at least, stop and think about whether it's a false comfort cliche. Like, at least she is no longer in pain. Not helpful. Not helpful. My least favorite phrase, the thing that I heard maybe the most and hated hearing the most, was, you will find love again. I believe that to be true, but I wasn't ready. Even now, 3 years later, I'm only starting to be ready for that concept. Everybody moves on their own pace, but honestly, right after someone passes away, the thought of finding love again is so very daunting, so very painful. That person is still actively in love with somebody who is gone, and it isn't time yet to talk about a future love. A couple of other things to avoid saying. Morbid curiosity, like, did he smoke? My partner died of esophageal cancer at the age of 40, and he did not smoke. And people seem to want to know if he smoked. I get it, sort of. You might wonder, curiosity is normal, but I don't want to talk about the fact that his death was so extremely unfair. I want to talk about him. I don't want to appease your curiosity. The final phrase I want to touch on that you should not say might surprise you, and that is, let me know if you need anything. Okay, a grieving person is probably not going to let you know anything. It is work to pick up the phone. It is work to get out of bed. So they're not going to let you know. I will be here for you whenever you need is a better way to say that. And here are your do's and don'ts. Do offer a distraction. Don't offer advice. So inviting that person out of the house, sending a movie or a playlist, those are distractions. Offering advice like, hey, you should do this. Everybody grieves differently. Even if they don't take you up on the distraction, it is still a lovely offer. Do listen. Don't tell your story about your own grief. They might ask you, and it's okay to talk about it then, but honestly, this is their time to grieve. Listen to their story. Talk about the person who passed away. Don't compare your own grief story. Do bring flowers in a vase. If you can't do that and you need to deliver something edible. It is honestly too much work to unwrap the flowers. I left so many flowers just sitting in the box. You know, especially those beautiful 1-800 flowers that come in that long box and you have to like, nope, I'm telling you, it's hard to get out of bed. I am not going to open that flower box. So if you want to bring flowers, they are welcomed. Just bring them already watered and in a vase, already tended to. Sending something edible is pretty helpful because you got to eat whether you like it or not when you're grieving. Do check in frequently and check in on that person's support team. Don't disappear. Checking in on the support team is something that I didn't realize would be so important, but it was the people who checked in on my parents and my best friend who I appreciated so much because they're hurting and they don't know how to help the person who's grieving. Helping them in some ways is more effective than trying to help the person who's in the throes of it. Do remember death anniversaries. Don't be afraid to reach out on those dates. So on the 6-month anniversary of someone passing away, I now send a note, a card, anything, a text to the person who's grieving because it's been 6 months and everyone else has moved on, but that person hasn't. And they will so appreciate hearing from you on that date because I will tell you what, they are like, I cannot believe it has been 6 months without this person in my life. It's a big day. If you remember things like the person who died's birthday, that's really nice too. Little things like that go a long way. Do not be afraid to reach out. Trust me, you're not going to trigger the person. They are already thinking about it. Do accept your loved one's grieving process without judgment, no matter what. But don't ignore things like drug or alcohol abuse. Another quick idea, these are really awesome empathy postcards by Emily McDowell and friends. The link is below. They say great things like, hey, I just didn't know what to say. If you take one thing from this, it is show up. Whether that be through a card, whether it be through a text message, show up. I have much more on this in a blog post. The link is below. I also link to these really great empathy postcards. Thank you so much for watching this, and thank you for wandering this world with love.